This video is going to be talking a lot about subjects that I've talked about before in a video 2 weeks ago, but this one is going to focus more on the election proper than the USPS, which I did in that previous video. And I'm talking about this because new information has come to light that unfortunately confirms what I had believed but had no real hard evidence for in that video. Now I'm going to quote this verbatim because I don't want it to be misrepresented or misinterpreted. Hawkfish, a top Democratic data firm, warns that it's highly likely that Trump will appear to be way ahead on election night, but could ultimately lose when all the votes are counted in the ensuing days and weeks. Now, I want to emphasize that last part. Days and weeks. That between that and them saying, oh, Trump is going to look like he's winning, but then Biden's going to flip it, those two things combined is exactly what I had thought was going to happen with the Democrats, and it looks like they're now prepping the voting public for this idea. They aren't even hiding it. They're trying to prepare us for it. I'm not one of those people that believes that we are going to see the full election results on election night. I believe that we probably should, but that we're not gonna, unfortunately. I believe that because, well, largely COVID, thank you, but it's because so many of the Democrat areas have been pushing for mail-in voting for so hard and so long that it's probably going to be a larger percentage than we're normally used to, and that's a problem because it is a much slower process and unfortunately more easy to manipulate. And that's the thing that I keep trying to emphasize because I feel that fraud is the wrong term. Manipulation, ballot stuffing, things like that. That's what I expect from all of this. Especially when you say weeks. I'm absolutely certain that's what's going to happen. I could understand a day or two later. That's relatively reasonable. Weeks later is insane. This reminds me of, and again, I'm going to bring this one up, the Senate race in Arizona back in 2018. Now, I'm not from Arizona, but I watched this because I was watching all the elections that were happening at that point. And this one stuck out because this one was not called at all and was not called for a good several weeks afterwards. What happened is towards the end of the election day, the Republican was up by something in the ballpark of 40,000 votes. And this was with 99% of the votes reported. That was their own words, by the way. 99%. She was up 40,000. The total number of votes after everything was said and done was 2.3 million. 1% is 23,000. So there was basically no way that the Democrat could have won. So I kept thinking to myself, why the fuck aren't they calling this? This is so weird. 99% of the votes have been called. The Republican is up by about 1.5 or so. What's going on here? And then weeks later, the Democrat ended up winning by 60,000 votes. There was a 100,000 vote swing weeks later. Come to find out, it was because, oh, hey, we found some votes that weren't counted. Because of course you did. And shock of shocks, they were all for the Democrat. Weird how that keeps happening. To this day, there has been no contest to this election, no calls of impropriety to this election, which I find extremely weird. If I was in the Republicans situation, I would be like, "Hey, wait, what the fuck happened here?" Because this was very odd. This was just improperly done all the way across the board, and I would have actually said something is off here. We need to look into this. The election commissioner, or whatever the fuck his title is actually seeing himself in court now. Not from this, but because he's doing something like this again. He has changed the rules so that if you make a mistake on your ballot, instead of actually needing a new ballot, which is the fucking common sense thing to do, no, just strike out where you made your mistake and fill in the correct bubble. That is so open to manipulation, it's not even fucking funny. Arizona, Arizona's Senate election, I think, was something of a testing ground for this. It is baffling to me that people can see that and think, oh no, this will never happen again. Weeks later, as Hawkfish is saying, tells me that what the plan here is that they want to see how the election results generally pan out and then add in enough votes to just surpass that in just enough states for Biden to win. That's not a conspiracy theory. Again, we fucking have real world evidence to support this. That's very hard to do just a day or two later because you're still counting a bunch of votes in general, and a good chunk of those could be Republican votes, whereas weeks later, you've already counted everything. So that's very easy to manipulate. And again, you don't need to take my word for it. The media has also reported that a bunch of primaries have had to invalidate votes for one reason or another. Several states combined have had about 1 million votes invalidated just in the primaries alone. And New Jersey, a New Jersey town, has had a judge has had to order that the election for 2 different city council seats has to be redone because they found that 20% of the ballots were fraudulent. That was a judge that found that, not just the people protesting against it or the opponents saying this was against us because they lost or whatever. We are noticing a lot more inconsistencies and improprieties now with mail-in ballots because we are actually looking for them because it is being pushed so damn hard. Because people will point to, oh, there's been only 17 fraudulent votes from mail-in ballots in over 1 million or whatever. I think it was from Oregon. That kind of statistic. It's because we weren't looking for that before this election. Now we have a magnifying glass on all of this, and we are finding fraudulence after fraudulence after inconsistency after stuffing after I don't know what. Which is why mass mail-in ballots, as the Democrats are wanting, cannot work. I do believe that mail-in ballots should be a thing. If you are a soldier on deployment, if you are an ambassador or government worker, or an employee of said government worker, you should get a mail-in ballot. If your corporation has you in a different country on for some whatever fucking reason, you should get a mail-in ballot. Those kind of things. That absolutely, you should get mail-in ballots for that. It should not just be a general populist thing. That is just too open to manipulation, and we are seeing that they're starting to prep us for that very idea. And for the record, I would be saying the exact same thing if this was the Republicans pushing this, if it was a Republican senator that won that seat that seemed incredibly fishy. If any of these things were Republican-based, I would be saying the exact same thing. But from everything I can tell, this all deals with the Democrats. So what am I supposed to believe? Especially considering how hard the Democrats are pushing for this. I believe that they are truly scared of another Trump win. That they will do everything in their power to stop that. And I've said time and again, I believe that the election has swung so far now that the only way that Biden can win is voter manipulation on a scale that would be incredibly noticeable, to a point where there would be open rebellion against it. Except, I'm going to have to add an addendum to that, when you're calling the election weeks later and have enough time to manipulate it just so that you get just the right states and just the right enough amount of votes, that would do it. When you aren't tied to the election day itself, it becomes so much easier. And that is what is being indirectly proposed here as to what is going to happen. The blatancy is stunning, and the fact that they're getting us ready for it and preparing to call anyone that says this seems odd a conspiracy theorist tells me exactly what the fuck the plan is. I'm really nervous for Election Day proper, because if this goes like I'm thinking they're trying to make it go, this is going to be very, very bad. And I've seen a lot of shit that's been happening in the past few months. The riots, the burnings, the lootings, etc. That's when only one side does it. Imagine that with both sides. That's not going to be a situation that I am looking forward to in any way, shape, or form. I say keep a close watch on what's going on, especially with regards to mail-in ballots. And as Election Day draws ever closer, just 2 fucking months, we're going to see some more weird shit. I can almost guarantee it. I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope I end up just fear-mongering for nothing. I would love nothing more than to be proven wrong on this. I really would. I'm not seeing that happening, and that scares me. This has been Math Machine, reminding everyone to go out and vote, preferably in person, to make sure that there is not, and take a picture of your vote as well, if you can, just to make absolutely sure that nothing funky goes on. Because in this election, in this year, something weird's going to happen. I can almost guarantee it. So I say minimize your chances of that. But that's just me. Peace out.